I've played Little Nightmares a fair few times now, but every time I go back, I seem to notice something new. Tarsier Studio managed to pack so much detail into such a small game that I can't help but wonder how much the average player has missed. So here are 10 things you might have missed in Little Nightmares. Oh, this is not including the DLC by the way, so like the video if you want to see that one, and spoilers, obviously. Number 10, messages in the wallpaper. This was one that I didn't see until I played through the game a couple of times, but Tarsier have packed so much hidden details into the game that even the wallpaper contains cryptic messages. In this room, which is presumably Roger the janitor's bedroom, we can see wallpaper that looks old and torn. At first glance, it looks just like a normal filigree pattern, but upon closer inspection, you can actually see several figures depicted. We can see Six, the lady, and the eye. Foreshadowing much? This is not the only reference though. We can also see leeches in the wallpaper in this bathroom, which could be hinting at how the leeches are formed in the first place. There are more wallpapers with patterns in the game too, although I'm not sure if they are showing something or are just patterned. Let me know down in the comments below if you see anything in these ones. Number 9, the hidden shrine for the lady. Just before Six enters the kitchens, there is a hidden room you can find by dropping down this hole. Down here you can find a room that looks like a shrine dedicated to the lady. We see a number of the lady statues, 2 pictures of the lady, one a normal portrait and one that shows her face as the eye. But interestingly, we also have a letter. Was somebody trying to reach the lady? But the most interesting thing in this room is the picture of the lady in red. This picture shows a woman turned around, which is very odd for a picture. It could be the lady before she took her role in the Moor, but this girl has lighter coloured hair. Perhaps this is the person who was trying to contact the lady. Number 8. The guests are fed to other guests. The game strongly hints that the captive children are being fed to the guests who arrive at the Moor. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's basically confirmed. But that's not the only horrifying thing the guests are eating. In this slightly hidden room, we see a guest with his hands in a water bucket, but he's fast asleep. This has a number of interpretations, but one thing we can say for a fact is that this is a bedroom, and this guest is so deeply asleep that even submerging his hand in the water doesn't wake him up. Why is this significant? Well, the room above this one is an identical size and layout, which implies this one's also a bedroom. We see one of the creepy chefs enter this room and begin chopping. We already know that the kitchens are full of meat, and this room is far too close to the guest rooms to be a kitchen, so this is heavily implying that it's a guest the chef is chopping up. That explains why none of the guests are ever seen again. Number 7. The eyes see all. There is another room in the game that is slightly hidden. To access this one, you have to drag a chair onto this pressure plate to open the hidden door in a closet. Inside we find a button that opens a giant screen in the shape of an eye. This appears to be some form of hidden camera system, which could imply that someone used to be spying on the staff members. This acts as a form of foreshadowing, showing off areas Six has already been to, but also showing off areas and enemies that Six will see later. Some of the areas shown are incredibly small and hard to reach places, showing how the eye sees all. But if you keep pressing the button until the eye closes and then press it one final time, the eye will show the mirror, the key to defeating the lady. Is the eye on Six's side? Or was somebody keeping a close eye on the mirror? Either way, it appears the eyes in Little Nightmares are always watching. Number 6. There is never anything on the telly. During the game, Six evades the janitor in a number of ways. One of those ways is by distracting him with the television. Roger is blind, causing him to follow anything that sounds suspicious. Six uses this to her advantage, turning on the television, which displays what appears to be an advert for the Moor with an incredibly catchy jingle. If you are quick, however, you can actually press the button again and browse a number of channels. Most of them are related to the eye, but the final channel shows a child sleeping, with a sinister shadow layering over them. Who is this shadow? No one knows, but I'll bet that most players missed these extra channels. Also, you can make Roger high-five the TV if you leave it on this channel. You're welcome. Number 5. The staff all wear masks. This one might be obvious to the Little Nightmare theorists out there, but I bet many first-time players missed this one. Every single member of staff in the Moor is wearing some type of mask. The lady is obvious, her mask is very reminiscent of the makeup geishas wear. But the chefs and Roger the janitor are also wearing masks. If you wait patiently and look closely, you can see the chefs have a face underneath the one that we see. They even lift up their mask to scratch their face at one point. We also see a picture on the wall that absolutely confirms their face to be a mask. Roger too is wearing some sort of face mask, although his has fallen down over time, possibly the reason why he's blind. We also see his mask in Little Nightmares 2, although it's not entirely clear if this is his, a replica, or if there are more janitors out there somewhere. Number 4. Shadow 6. 6 succumbs to the hunger several times throughout the game. At seemingly random times, although that might not be the case, 6 begins to cough and her stomach growls. She appears to be so hungry that it causes her physical pain. This is already odd, since not only does she eat several times in the few hours that the game takes place, but she also completely ignores huge quantities of food. It's not that she's greedy, something far more sinister is happening. But whenever we see 6 eat while under these effects, we can actually see a shadowy version of herself lingering around. They can be hard to spot unless you know where they are, and they require the player to move the camera around in these scenes, but they highlight that there is something supernatural behind this hunger. This gets even spookier. When 6 finally kills this important little gnome, if you look at the light above her, it bursts into a spectral blue flame. There is definitely more than meets the eye here. Number 3. The previous Raincoat owner. Now that we have clear confirmation of the timeline of the Little Nightmares games, we know for definite that 6 isn't the original owner of this raincoat. We know that the protagonist of Very Little Nightmares falls from the nest, letting the raincoat float away, and that 6 picks up what appears to be the same raincoat in Little Nightmares 2. Which is yet again set before Little Nightmares 1. But if you look very closely at the images in the moor, you can actually see a third person wearing the raincoat. This person appears to have warped or burnt skin, which looks similar to this boy, who could actually be one of the chefs. It's possible that there are multiple yellow raincoats, or it's possible that the raincoat has had several different owners and has travelled very far. But it also makes it very difficult to know who these pictures in the moor are representing. We see someone in a yellow raincoat several times throughout the game, including one that appears to spoil the ending. More foreshadowing? Has this happened before? Maybe we'll never know. Number 2. Roger's arms keep moving after he dies. This one I originally thought could be a bug or a coincidence, but after seeing it on several of my own playthroughs and on other people's, I am now convinced it was intentional. After 6 drops the door on Roger, one of his arms continues to move for a few seconds, with his hand still trying to grab at 6. It's not impossible for limbs to move for a short while after being severed, but his hand literally tries to follow 6. Also note that there is no blood and his arms appear hollow. Maybe the devs didn't want to include gore in this scene, although we see it in plenty of other places, or maybe it's a hint that Roger isn't as alive as we once thought. Number 1. Time is as broken as everything else. Time in the moor doesn't seem to work properly. Every single clock in the moor appears to be broken. While it's possible that every single one just broke, notice how they haven't stopped ticking. Most clocks that break stop ticking, but these are still going, just not correctly. We have more hints to this though. The kitchens are absolutely full of dirty dishes even before the boatload of guests we see arrive in the moor. Also, it's incredibly strange that just 2 chefs could prepare all the food, wash all the dishes, and apparently serve the tables of all these guests by themselves. Add to that the fact that we see the ending in a picture before it happens. You could even go one step further with this theory though, and say that Little Nightmares takes place after Little Nightmares 2, highlighting how even the game's numbering seems to be out of time. If you've played Little Nightmares 2, you might have a better understanding of the timeline of Little Nightmares, but either way, time here is just as twisted as everything else. So those are 10 things you might have missed in Little Nightmares. I already have a video on Little Nightmares 2, but I might revisit that, and the Little Nightmares DLC, so be sure to let me know down in the comments if you want more content like this. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.